Welcome back to Paw Patrol with your host, Dr. Jeff Dikis. Tonight I'm joined by Rich Dubin. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Absolutely, man. Grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know who you are, and they all should, because they should all be watching our GaitKeepers Journal Club monthly on LER Expo. But anyone who doesn't know who you are, why don't you give a quick background of who you are?
Okay. So professionally, I'll start from there, right? I got a shot to sell some advertising for a small clinical publication in podiatry in 1989. It was called Current Podiatry. And I was taking some life seminars. I just graduated college and had no idea what I wanted to do. And the seminar director's dad was a podiatrist. So he came to me, he said, Rich, you got great personality. You want to come sell some advertising for my podiatry magazine? So I said, absolutely. What's a podiatrist? Like I had never heard the term in my life, right? Fast forward.
I'm in, but give me more info.
Give me more info. Exactly. Tell me, please, what is this? So I went and did that for a year and a half, got recruited by Podiatry Today, worked there for 3 years, left there with a group of us and started a magazine called Biomechanics. It was a multidisciplinary publication. We started in 1994. In 97, the owner sold it, 3.2 million. I got 1 week's pay, a handshake, and a new employer. And I vowed at that point, that'll never happen again. So, if I'm involved in a startup or I'm doing anything myself, I'm going to have equity. And, I lasted in corporate about 12 years. You know me because we've worked together. The corporate thing is sort of not my gig. And in 2009, I started LERexpo. No, I started LER Magazine. Sorry, LER Magazine first. And then that was basically taking what we had with biomechanics, but doing it for myself. And then having gone to 500 trade shows, realized there had to be a bigger and better way and more efficient way, more ROI for vendors. And I started LERexpo. And then we launched GaitKeepers, a year ago, which is amazing. Actually, this year we launched GaitKeepers.
Yeah.
And LER Marketplace, which is an online trade show, essentially. We have booths. They run 24/7, 365. We have LER Conversation, which we just launched, where we're going to bring manufacturers and clinicians together for a conversation. So everything is about serving the profession.
So what was it specifically? I know you kind of hinted at the fact that you were approached to do some marketing or advertising, and they said, what's a podiatrist? But what made you kind of stick with the lower extremity in terms of after the original thing, you could have gone in any direction, and after biomechanics, you could have gone in any direction, but you've seemed to stay in the lower extremity niche or realm. What drew you to that to continue to stay in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, it was the relationships that I had developed when I first started. It's amazing to me to be in the same space for 35 years and still be doing business with clients that I did business with in 1989 and have the friendships and the relationships throughout those years. That's been I think, the cornerstone and reason for me hanging on. And then the other side of it is I've really kind of found an affinity and an interest in the podiatric profession. Not only relationships are strong, but I love everything about feet and ankles. And listen, you're a podiatrist, so once you get into it, you're like, oh man, I'm here and I don't think I'm going to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little deadlocked in the field, but yeah, it's kind of weird because people ask like, what do you like about feet? I'm like, I guess I don't really think about it that much. I think about the nature of what we do and helping people and broken this and torn that. And it just so happens that I focus on the foot and ankle, just like some people focus on the hand and wrist. Some people just do shoulders or knees or hips. I don't think it's that different than other specialties that focus on the heart, the brain, whatever it may be. But that is such a common question that why feet? Well, do you think people are like, why the heart? Why the brain? You're like, I don't know. It's just interesting. And I feel like I can make a difference. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm turning that question on you then, huh? Why feet?
Yeah. It's just kind of stuck with me. And I guess I've always had a foot fetish. I guess we could start with that, right? I mean, people don't know this about me, and I'll share this on your podcast. I've been a sneakerhead my whole life, right? I go back to, being teenager, and I've been collecting sneakers my whole life still, and my collection spans somewhere around 600-700 pair.
Wow.
It's a pretty significant.
Are
And,
you
and
are you wearing them or collecting them as a monetary gain at some point?
so I have sold some, but I think it's more of a collector thing. Some people collect figurines, and some people collect all types of different things. I collect sneakers.
There's a fine
And
line between collecting and hoarding, though.
there is. And so sometimes I have to offload some pair so I don't feel like I'm just hoarding. So yes, I'll agree with that one.
If you're making little pathways through your house through the shoe boxes, I think it's time to get rid of some pair.
The basement is a little like a Foot Locker.
Yeah.
The basement's got shelves and it's tricked out, and there's all kinds of shoe boxes stacked, and everything is pretty well organized. But it is definitely it's a lot. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to help me decide whether or not you're collecting to wear them or collecting to collect them. Are they all in your shoe size?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so you
Oh,
could
100%.
wear, you're not collecting, because every now and then there's a pair of like, I'm not in that world. I appreciate it, but I'm not in that world of a certain year of Jordans where they only made a certain number. And if you can get your hands on a pair of, size 8s, even though you don't wear an 8, you're going to get them because they're that shoe. But that's
Mhm.
not you.
No, definitely not. I buy them with the intention of wearing them at some point.
Sure.
That's always my. And the thing is, I'm not I don't have an allegiance to one brand.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like I think some people only collect Jordans. I mean, I'm wearing New Balance today. It's really whatever I'm feeling that I buy.
So let's go back for a minute. You grew up in New York. Give people a little personal background of you and
Personal
where you
background.
came
Okay.
from. Yeah. Not
Okay.
too personal.
So
Don't scare the people away.
I'll try not to. I'll try not to. I was born in Brooklyn. My parents split when I was 2. I went to live with my dad and in Florida. And then I lived with my dad and my grandparents on my dad's side on and off. And then my dad was murdered when I was 9. And then I went out to live with my aunt and uncle in California. My grandparents had said, listen, I already raised 4 kids. I don't want to raise another one. And needless to say, at 10 years old, I was definitely a problem child.
Yeah.
So they shipped me out to California. I came back from California a year later to New York City to live with my mom. So essentially, I grew up in New York City with a single mom. And that's my 0 to 11. And then, from 11 to 18, when I came up to Albany to go to college. That's what brought me to Albany, where I live now. And I've been here now, over 40 years. I can't even believe it. My oldest son coined the phrase of Albany. He said, it's a great place to be if you don't want to be there. Meaning, as we were talking about earlier, 2.5 hours to Boston, 2.5 hours to New York, 3 hours to Montreal. You got Lake George, you got Saratoga. There's so much here, but Albany proper, not much.
Yeah. I would imagine with that upbringing that you have to grow up quick, that you have to, that's a lot for a young kid to go through. So how do you feel like that has shaped you as you have gotten older? Because obviously you have your life together, but there are certain people that grow up with maybe a similar background or a tougher upbringing that kind of breaks them or is very difficult for them to push through. So how do you feel like that has shaped you as you've gotten to where you are?
Well, I think what happens is when you move around a lot, you're going to be flexible and adaptable, and you're going to learn how to meet new people pretty easily, right? And make friends, develop relationships. You're always building new relationships. And so you value those relationships. And with the fractured family environment, it also creates the opportunity to gain and build those relationships and make them deeper. It's almost my friends are my family. Like that's truly how it is for me. And so I think when I look at that experience as a child, how that has turned me into who I am today, I carry those same characteristics. My relationships with people are deep. My relationships with people are real. They're authentic. They're consistent. I had someone share something with me today that was just that made my heart full. just that, you are someone that puts humanity first. Like, and he just felt that. So to me, I think it really, getting outside of myself and not making it all about my trauma, if you will, which I think a lot of people get caught up in. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is what I went through, and blame everybody for it and carry this chip on your shoulder. It's like you get to a place where you develop some level of forgiveness, right? And you let go of those resentments and that bitterness and that anger. Because I had some of that, there's no question. And I
Yeah.
acted out as a result. But I
Yeah.
think when you start to grow up and you start to really see the rewards of taking ownership and responsibility for your life today, then you don't tend to want to fall back into those old patterns.
Yeah, and I think it would be easy to let those things that happen to you define you,
Uh-huh.
and you cling to that. And like you said, you have to find a way to kind of overcome that, not ignore it, but not let that become the defining everything about you, because that would be very difficult and probably counterproductive. So,
Mhm.
as you've grown over the years and started these businesses, what about business creation? Have you always been into entrepreneurship and I got to create and I got to interact with all these people, like you said, your friends or your family, and grow in a business? But what about entrepreneurship drew you to it?
I don't know. I've always had that sort of desire to have my own, right? I always had that self starter mentality that, I'm dreaming of something, and I can't even tell you where it came from because no one in my family was, entrepreneurial. My uncle was a teacher, my mom was a dental assistant, my grandfather drove a limo for a living. Like,
Mhm.
nowhere along the way was I inspired by the immediate circle. But
Right.
I always had this vision that I knew I'd own my own magazine one day. I knew
Yeah.
that from, 21 when I was working for somebody else. I'm like, I know that I can do this. And I was grateful to have the opportunity to learn all the different aspects of publishing. When we started biomechanics, that starting LER became, almost second nature. I had already been through the process. And so I think it's a lot is just a belief in myself, the perseverance, the resilience, those characteristics that you learn going through those challenges, or that I learned going through those challenges, have enabled me to sort of become that entrepreneur. And then I see the value of that, right? And I see the payoff of that experience in the lives of the people that we're helping. And then I say, wow, that's where the joy comes from, right? The joy doesn't come from, well, yeah, I'm building all this stuff. The joy comes from the impact that we're making on others.
Yeah. What makes something a business? Because you can create something, in this case, a product or information, or I don't even know where we'd put this, because it's not an energy drink, it's not a hat, it's not a pair of shoes like you collect. What makes it a business? Do you think it's just if the product is strong enough it'll start to sell itself, or what do you think makes what you're doing a business?
Whether it be LER Expo or Gatekeepers or anything we're launching.
Anything, even in your
Yeah.
past, is it just the fact that people are, if you make a good enough thing, it doesn't
Mhm.
even have to be a tangible, like hold it in your hand product. It can be an online website or a
Mhm.
digital marketing something something. But what takes that from just you have an idea and
Mhm.
it all of a sudden it becomes an actual business?
I think when we're able to monetize it, right? Because if you listen, I see products all the time that clinicians invent in their garage or what have you, and they never make it to market,
Hmm.
right? So to me, it's what makes it a business is when you can monetize the actual um, product or solution that you're launching. And then and when you can create a following. So when people are interested in what it is that you're doing and you can monetize it, then I think it becomes a business. Before that, it could be a hobby. How many times,
Right.
do we have hobbies? We love what we're doing and it's entrepreneurial in nature, but it's still a hobby because we're not monetizing it.
Yeah. Makes
And I
sense.
mean, I guess you can monetize a hobby as well, but I don't think of it. I think monetization is what turns it into an actual business.
I mean, that'd be the best of both worlds, right? Like, I have a good time doing gatekeepers, and if gatekeepers eventually becomes monetized, then it is a hobby that becomes monetized. I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal. I'm happy with what I do on a daily basis, and you seem pretty happy with what you do on a daily basis, but there are people who have jobs that they hate. They would not even closely equate what they do to a hobby. And so if the closer you can get to mirroring, it doesn't sound like a real word, mirroring.
Mirroring, yeah, it's a word.
Yeah, it's
Mirroring,
just
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I'll go
not
with
good.
that.
I'm not good at saying it apparently. A hobby to what you do for a living, I think the better, right? The happier you are. So you've been able to take something that you are interested in and make it a business. I think that's kind of the key there.
I think you touched on something really important. It's happiness, right? But there's also an element. Happiness is so fleeting, right?
Yeah.
It's really finding joy in what you do and being passionate about what you do, and then seeing the results in others. Because the same with you, right? Paw Patrol. You're impacting the profession. You're helping, you know, educate, and you're bringing people on that you enjoy speaking to
Yeah.
and learning about them. Like, to me, that deepens the whole experience. And so even when we talk about gatekeepers, I think we had our largest attended event last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. Grambert did a phenomenal job. You guys are great hosts. That whole collaborative opportunity is amazing. And so with the launch, it's been the first 6 months, so it takes time to
Yeah.
gain that type of traction and gain that type of visibility. And then people say, oh shit, like, I need to be a part of that. I'll invest because I want to have my logo on there. I want to reach these 850 docs that you guys are serving. And
Yeah.
so it becomes it almost will feed itself, because we're constantly out there and we love what we do. If we were miserable at it, then people wouldn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, come on.
Right. I think it's interesting because if companies were smart, they would be early adopters of things like that. They would be smart to become a, a, a primary sole sponsor and say, this is ours. We're going to put our name on it and no one else can touch this. But it feels like businesses are stuck in the mud sometimes and they wait to see if something's successful first. Well, how many viewers do you have? How many listeners do you have? How many? And they'd be smart to be like, I've watched it, I've seen it, this is going to grow, and I'm going to invest in Apple before it becomes Apple. Now anyone could buy Apple, but you're not going to make money off of Apple. You needed to invest in Apple in 1989 or something, and then you watch it grow. So it's interesting to me to watch from the outside certain companies and entities be very slow on the uptake to understand where our world is moving from a digital capacity to a podcast capacity to an engagement standpoint of where people's eyeballs are. I think some of the companies still get stuck in the old ways of doing things. What are your thoughts on the way you've watched this transition from a digital print, or sorry, let me back up. You've watched this transition from a print product in a magazine, which is obviously not very popular anymore. The number of people reading actual newspapers and magazines is dwindling, and the number of digital entities is increasing. You've watched that slowly transition. But what are your thoughts on where people's attentions are these days, and whether or not companies are waiting too long to find out that we missed the boat on that one?
That's a great comment and a great thought. And so I have witnessed, right? I was involved in my print my whole life. We went to a digital publication. We still publish every month digitally. We still email it out. We have, great audience, tremendous open rates, tremendous click-through rates. Like, they love what we're providing. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Then launching LER Expo, my first event was June of 20. It was on a different platform. We were developing this platform on the back end, and trying to develop this online market. I think no one knew what was happening during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there were a lot of mistakes being made in the virtual space,
Sure.
and vendors didn't know. So they were committing to things that they really didn't know, and they found zero results from, right? The one thing we always did from the beginning was involve the sponsors in the actual agenda. So as the lectures are going on, you're clicking into the next lecture and you're clicking in to hear the sponsor. So the sponsor's getting the lecture to 2, 3, 400 clinicians. That's unheard of in the in-person space.
Yeah.
I think that vendors are very skeptical, right? We still see it. Still, we've been at this now 6 years. We're going on our 6th year with the No Nonsense seminar. They'll never go back to in person, right?
Yeah.
They've been around for 40 years. The value that you bring to the clinician who gets to learn from the comfort of his home, to the speaker who gets to speak from the comfort of their home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The learning experience is so much greater, and the engagement in the platform, as you know, is super high. So we're engaged learners learn better, and when they're comfortable, they learn. They will also learn faster when they're enjoying the content. So I think that while vendors are slow to adopt this process, I'm finding more and more, as you'll see in end of this year into 2026. We have events. We're doing a limb salvage tournament with a vendor. We're doing some more MIS. We're doing a derm conference. We're doing another MIS conference, which you'll be a part of. So we're trying to expand the footprint by also delivering different topics so that we're providing education to the masses. And when you do that, you're not pigeonholing yourself into one area. And I think vendors need to realize that this isn't the future. This is now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about, next year, 3 years, 5 years. Let me show me the data. I have the data. We've educated 10,000 clinicians online.
Mm-hmm.
We have a 70% retention rate in our, education, on our educational efforts. We have, somewhere around 500 speakers we've worked with. So it's here and they love it. I mean, our ratings are off the charts also. So, I mean, I could go on and tell you how fantastic stuff we're doing is, but we're already seeing the results and they speak for themselves.
I see a lot of money wasted by these companies. I see them invest in, I don't want to pick on anything too much, but they show up to they have booths at every conference, and then they hope however many X number of people come by to check out their product versus the number of instant eyeballs that people are getting, whether it be on a post that I put on Instagram or LinkedIn or stuff that we're doing on LER Expo. I think that they're slowly starting to understand the bang for their buck is a lot different when they pay X number of thousands of dollars for a booth. I'm not even talking about some of the bigger companies because they hog up the main stage, right? When you walk in, you can't help but see some of the big names but even these little small booths, and they don't know, okay, well, I hope people come by. Maybe they get 12 people that came by and put their business card in a fishbowl for a free whatever burrito at Taco Bell. And it's like, you're just missing the boat here, man. Like, what are these marketing people doing? Sometimes I feel like I could do their marketing better than they do, which makes me kind of sound like a jerk when I go to a company. I'm like, do you want me to do your marketing too? Because we could do this a whole lot better than what you guys are doing. But I just see a lot of money wasted by these companies when they're not devoting it to where all the eyeballs are.
100%. And I think that's where we've seen the biggest uptick in sponsorship is whether it's a 15-minute session at one of our conferences or a 30-minute session at one of our multi-sponsored conference, or whether it's a standalone CME conference that we create. The eyeballs that the manufacturers are getting, there is in 35 years of going to conferences, 500 conferences, every single specialty, you name it, podiatry, orthopedics, O&P, pedorthics, PT, athletic training, you name it, I've been to every conference.
Mhm.
If there's a conference, I've been to it. There is nowhere that I have seen any vendor get the ROI from an in-person conference versus what they can get at an LER Expo event. Single sponsors, completely different, obviously, because the entire, agenda is focused around a specific topic, right? Whether it's derm or MIS or limb salvage or surgical complications or what have you.
Yeah.
That's different than a multi-sponsored, which has a lot of different topics presented. But in both cases, you're talking about hundreds of eyeballs, hundreds for your presentation for a fraction of what it would cost to be at one of the larger conferences and less than what it would be for a vendor at a smaller conference. You get a 10 by 10 booth at a small conference, $5,000.
Yeah.
You fly 3 people out there round trip. It's another $2,000. You have a hotel room for 3 nights. That's another, depending on the city, that's another $1,500 to $2,000 per person, right? Meals and entertainment. By the time you figure it out, your booth is not $5,000. It's more like 18 grand or 20 grand. And so you think about that for one show that ends in 2 days.
Yeah.
And then after those 2 days, you're done. There's no recording. There's no education. There's no differentiation. There's no real connection with the audience. It's all, they came by my booth, they took a pen, they took a pad, they took a little, a little stress ball with my logo on it. Maybe they'll buy my product, 2 years from now. I mean, there's no call to action.
Exactly. And I think that's what they're missing. They're not understanding that it's not about trying to get people to come to your booth. It's about trying to tell the people what service you provide for them. Make it so that they have no choice but to use your product. Here's why you are missing the boat if you don't use this product. And you become a salesman, but that's ultimately what they are. Their business is trying to get people to use their product, just like Mercedes wants people to buy their cars and Nabisco wants you to buy their cookies. It's no different than those things. And I think they miss the boat when they're talking, when they don't make it about in this case, the provider or the physician. They make it about, hey, come see us, come check out us, as opposed to delivering on something that says, here's why you should use this product. And they also waste a whole lot of money, like you talked about. Let's say they go to a show, a conference, and they fly in some big name person to give a dinner, and they get 25 people to come to the dinner, and everyone got dinner, and they flew in this person, and it cost them 10 grand. What did we take away from that? How many of those people are there for the free dinner, and how many of those people are actually going to use your product? I find that an extreme waste of money for 20, 25 people, their eyeballs on this one event. Like you said, no recording, no, it sticks in your mind probably, oh, I had the lobster, it was delicious. Right. What was the product? I don't know, some skin graft thing. I don't actually know. Right? Like, how much of a waste of money is that? I'll eat the dinner, but I find it a huge waste of money.
I agree. Vendors have been doing, look, it's just like anything else, right? They do the same thing over and over and over and over, and they expect different results. Right. There's nothing more frustrating than speaking to a marketing manager, a VP of marketing, and having this conversation with them about, here's an opportunity. Here, let's talk about creating an educational event that delivers a solution that your product fits into, right? And talks about indications and conditions and solutions. And With KOLs, it's a CME event, so clinicians are going to be in attendance. You're the only vendor present. Well, no, we have this dinner we're sponsoring, and we do this, once a month. And I agree with you. I mean, it's an incredible waste of money and time. Mm-hmm. How about you spend that same 2 hours or 3 hours with 200 clinicians listening to something that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else? I mean, one of the things I love about GaitKeepers, Jeff, and working with you and Brad on that, is that what we're providing, they can't get anywhere else. This content doesn't exist.
Right.
I've never seen it. I've never experienced it. I know the clinicians in attendance have never seen or experienced it. And we're bringing hundreds to a journal club discussion.
Yeah.
Like, that number should be 400 or 500 because clinicians want to learn about what's going on. And so, and I believe over time we're going to get there because this is something that's catching on, dramatically. But the content is king. Content is king.
Yeah.
Going and talking about your product. Oh, here's a bottle of Poland water. It's 20 ounces and it's got the flip
Hmm.
top and
Oh, look at
nobody
that.
cares,
No,
right?
they don't. Right.
Nobody cares. Come to my booth and get a free such and such. That's old. That's 10, 15 years old approach. Let's try something new.
I agree with you because in my mind, maybe not maybe, I'm definitely biased towards what we're doing with gatekeepers, but there should be 1,000 people on there. It's free. And the people who aren't hearing these experts give their impressions or their all their pearls and all their information that's inside their brain, you're now behind. The people that were there have this information, they're ahead of you. I think of it as like a lifelong race of how much information and how much good you can do in the world. Anybody who's not getting all of that information is behind someone who was there. Obviously I'm biased, but that's how I view it. Did you see episode 2, 3, 4, 5? No? Okay, well, then you're behind all the people that were at those episodes and have all that information from these literal experts in the field. So I know it'll grow. It's just a matter of convincing people. The hardest thing I think we have to convince people of is getting home from work and
Mhm.
doing more work. They
Yeah.
want to play with their kids. They want to eat dinner with their family. They want to go outside. They want to go golfing. They want to do things. They don't want to do more work. And I fully understand that. But if you can cut out a little time in your day on one evening, 1 hour
A
per
month.
evening per month
Yeah.
to hear whoever it may be, the expert in the world on whatever this topic is, or the most published author on X number of topic, I think they're missing the boat if they're not on there. But let's go back for a minute. So anybody that doesn't know what LER Expo is, explain what LER Expo is and how it kind of works.
Okay, so LERexpo is we're an online event company where we create online CME events for clinicians. It is an interactive, immersive, and engaging experience for clinicians to learn from the comfort of their home. It's not Zoom, it's not GoToMeeting, it's a platform designed for online events. So if you're still doing Zoom or you're still doing GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, Teams, any of those things for webinars or events, you're missing the boat
So
because what we have is a
what's different?
technology.
Tell people what's different. Like what?
Well, the platform. So we have tools and it's the experience of being there. It's hard to explain in words. It's you know yes, it's a video like this, right? But everything we do is live. We have polling options. We have uh, um, tools for clinicians, the way they engagement and the answer questions. The engagement is unlike anything else. You've been on other platforms, Jeff. I mean, your experience both as an attendee on LER Expo and as a speaker on LER Expo. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, it's very smooth. It's very streamlined. It doesn't feel it's not clunky.
Yeah,
So there's also an experience when you load in and you see the basketball arena for the MIS tournament or whatever else is on there, the auditorium, and you click in, and it just has a different vibe and a different experience. One of the things that I think is kind of the most helpful, and it's hard to utilize sometimes, but you can pull people from the audience up on
yeah,
stage. If they're Most people are watching in their underwear on their couch. They're not exactly ready to get up on stage.
true.
There was one time I was watching on my phone. I was playing video games with my kids and listening to it in an earbud. And you were like, "Hey, you want to hop on stage?" I was like,
Holy shit!
no, I do not. I'm in the middle of a Fortnite battle right here. I'm listening, but I'm doing something else." So, but you could pull people up on stage and make them a part of the conversation. And that's what we were trying to do with the online Gatekeepers Journal Club. When you're in person, people raise their hand. "Hey, I got a question." Well, perfect. Let's make this as much of a, what are the chances that people from all over the country are going to fly to one centralized location once per month for a journal club to hear the expert in the world?
Zero.
It's never going to happen. It's 0% chance. But instead of flying all to this one location, you could sit at home in your underwear on the couch and watch the expert in this whatever and pull people on the stage and raise your hand. "Hey, I got a question. Hey, let me type that in." And so the amount of interaction, nothing feels quite like in person, but it's getting to be as close as it can be to feel like you're interacting with the people who are there.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too that we like to hang our hat on is it's fun, right? We have fun. It's hard to say that, but we hear it in the comments. This was fun. This was exciting. You usually don't refer to a webinar as fun
Right.
or exciting or engaging, but we hear that constantly. I mean, our tagline is, we're the highest rated, most immersive, fun and engaging online events on the planet. Like that's what we create. So the environment that people are learning in, that clinicians are learning in, contributes to the success for the actual manufacturer sponsor. Because if clinicians are enjoying the experience, then they're going to be engaged in the process and they'll want to learn more from the manufacturer. And so, plus we have the other side of it is that we didn't really address, but, we have a full exhibit hall, as part of the event. Now, one of the things that event organizers did during COVID that was a flop and a disaster, and I'm grateful we never did this, was that they made vendors man their booth, just like they were at an in-person conference. So we're virtual. It's very different. They'll go on after the event. They'll go on before the event. They may go on 3 or 4 days after the event to view the exhibit hall and check out the different products. So we have an exhibit hall, we have the auditorium, and we also have a lounge. And in all of those places, our mission is to connect everyone together, connect clinicians with other clinicians, connect. That was a little, connect clinicians with speakers, and connect clinicians with vendors. So it's all about building those connections, and the networking within the platform is unlike anything that I've seen anywhere else.
The key to what you just said was enjoying the content, because if people are enjoying it, number one, they're more likely to stick around. Number two, they're more likely to come back next time. And number three, they're more likely to engage with whatever the sponsor may be, which, they're all part of this bigger picture of what service can I provide for you, which is the content, and what service can you provide for me, which is your eyeballs, so that I can get sponsors who want your eyeballs or contact information. But that circle does not go full 360 degrees without good content. And so I'm biased. I think that medical education can very easily be entertaining as well as educational. It does not have to be dry, it does not have to be boring. I get the students that work with me and we have fun. We learn, but we have fun. Why can't you make medical education fun, which was the whole reason of starting Pod Patrol and subsequently the GaitKeepers Journal Club. But I think that's the most important key cog in the wheel is, do they enjoy the content? Who are the lecturers? Who are the people that are providing this content for people? And I feel like you guys have done a very good job of getting people who are intelligent, well-spoken, entertaining. I just had Tyler Gonzalez on the podcast. That guy is a firecracker of information and energy. People like that are so fun and easy to listen to that by the time you get done, you realize oh, I learned something as well. That was entertaining. I wanted to listen to that because I enjoyed it, but I also walked away with a whole lot more information than I started with. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think having content creators that are engaging and entertaining is most of the battle to get that ball rolling and get engagement.
Well, I'm pretty fortunate, obviously, because Brad Abick is our medical director. So he has a similar vision, right? And when you, myself, and Brad collaborate on Gatekeepers, we're looking at everything. We're looking at the literature. We're looking at speakers. We're looking at, who they are. There's a lot to it rather than just, oh, this guy's an expert on this topic. Let me throw him online. We've had speakers like that. They do not get invited back. It's just the nature of the business. We do a survey after every single event. We know how the audience rates every single speaker from a scale of 1 to 5. And we've had speakers that have fallen below 4.5, 4.3. Those don't really come back, right?
How am I still on there? How am I still on there?
I know you
Make an exception for me.
for you, we were partners, so I don't
All
have a
right.
choice.
Okay.
But no, in all seriousness, there's this. We have a strong desire to create an event that is fun. You said it, right? Fun and engaging. If it's not, people will tune out quickly.
Yeah.
And so, we do an event once a year, the no nonsense, right? 30 hours over 2.5 days.
Yeah.
I take such pride in that from the first hour to the last hour, we have the same number of people online, give or take, a couple. You said it. If the content's good, they'll stay. So our events rate anywhere from, 4.8 to 4.94. I mean, that's out of 5 stars overall rating for an online event is incredible.
I think there's a balance there, though, which I struggle with a little bit with the podcast, which is how silly to be and how fun and joking. But at the end of the day, this still is medical information. This still is patient care. So I think it's not only being entertaining and
Yeah.
but there's a balance there between being fun and delivering high quality medical knowledge and content, which I think is the secret sauce, is the key to success. It's a balance between those two, which is true on any in-person lecture too. When you have a lecture, you're like, oh, they're really good. I'm going to go see this lecture. And they deliver something that's educational. They're charismatic. They're well-spoken. They have a little humor in there. That was a great experience for you. And then right after that might be someone who's very smart, but too smart for their own good. They're super boring. They're staring at their screen and reading all the slides. And you're like, that was not it for me. And so, yeah, I think it's a balance between medical education and somehow trying to be charismatic or funny or engaging in some way.
Well, and I think that really comes from the speaker, right? I
Yep.
mean, all we could do is bring the speaker on stage and they got to present. But if you're a great, not because I'm on the show, but you're a great presenter. You've got great slides. They're clear. They're clean. You have a personality. You have the key. I think the key to being a good presenter is allowing your personality to shine through while you're speaking, while you're lecturing. You don't just read off the slide. You don't just, like you said. I mean, I've had speakers like that where I had a guy had a teleprompter. He was on an online event. He's reading off the teleprompter like this. Needless to say, he hasn't been back and
Right.
won't ever be back.
Yeah.
But the other piece that's good is I always like the a little bit of controversy, right? A little bit of if you notice in all our events, one of the things that we do with every session is we have a roundtable discussion, right? So we bring together 3 shorter presentations with a longer roundtable discussion because to me that's where the magic happens. That's where people really learn when you have a moderator bouncing questions and taking questions from the audience and having that dialogue. I know you've moderated a few of those sessions. Those are great experiences for you, for the speakers, and for the panel as well as for the attendees.
How do you vet new speakers? So I want to take this in 2 different directions. Number 1, how do you know if someone's going to be a good speaker before you let them on the platform? And number 2, how did you find me? Just give people a little background of how I became, because there's going to be people out there who are thinking, well, I'd be a good speaker. I'd be a good presenter. No one ever asked me. How do you find speakers?
So a lot of times, I go to a lot of in-person conferences, right? So I'm at the in-person conferences and I attend a lot of sessions. So yes, I'm not a clinician, or no, I'm not a clinician, but I still like to see the way people present. I like to see the way they, the way they command the audience, all of that, right? That's one way. The other way is I rely on our contacts. So I rely on people that I trust who go to other conferences. Someone like yourself, someone like Brad Abick, someone like Adrian Estes, someone like Pat DeHeer, clinicians that we work with regularly that I trust. And so if they're saying, yes, this gentleman is, or this lady is fantastic, then I'm willing to speak with them. We get contacted all the time by clinicians that want to present. right? And it's a process. It's a vetting process. We go through the same type of criteria that I guess an in-person conference would go through, right? We can't just accept everybody. It just doesn't work like that. So I think that covers that. I mean, really, we want the best of the best, right? Like we're putting together this limb salvage tournament for November, and I was on a call today with someone who's going to be, chairing that or hosting that, and we went through a list of 40 speakers. Some I have, some he has, and we were going back and forth. Some I'd never heard of, some he never heard of. So it's really that type of process. It's truly collaborative. No one's ever out, and no one's ever surely in, right? It's always a matter of talking through the different scenarios and what makes the most sense based on their expertise, their experience, and a lot of personality. And as you know, before every event, I meet every speaker. Like I speak with every single speaker on the platform, we're backstage, and I'm reviewing how to log in, how to share their screen, and get a taste of their personality. And we've been fortunate, I think, to have some really amazing clinicians lecturing for us. Personality, expertise, all of it. So, we've been fortunate in that respect. And for you, I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw your stuff. I started listening, and I'm like, I really vibe with this guy. I like his style. I like the way he flows. I like how authentic he is. I like the things that you bring to the table. I just genuinely enjoyed what you were showing and your show. So I said, you know what, dude, this would be a great opportunity. Let's build something together. I reached out. You got back to me. We started talking. Brad became my medical director, and within 2 weeks, I think we launched the first Gatekeepers episode, right?
It was quick. It was like, should we wait? Should we get this all together? Like, nah, let's just do it. Brad and I had enough experience in
MIS.
speaking, well, in MIS, but also in just speaking into a microphone. We were like, nah, let's just do it. Let's just go. Yeah. We'll just get better with time, but you're never really getting better until you start doing it. I sometimes go back and cringe at my early episodes of the podcast, and I was using a different camera, different lighting, and I was a little more stumbly bumbly. And then, well, I knew that when I started the podcast, the only way to get good was to just do it and keep doing it. Now, you might argue just do 10 episodes and then burn them and throw them in the garbage and never let them see the light of day. But I don't know, there's not really any fun in that. So how often do you get someone who pops on and they're a speaker and you're just thinking, oh, this is tough? I mean, you had the guy with the teleprompter, but how often you get someone who's like, this is never going to happen again?
So we've done about 80 events so far, right? Since 20. And I just want to say, you brought me back to like our first event, June of 20, where I didn't realize we had to train speakers. We had to check settings. We had a guy couldn't log in. He couldn't share screen. He's holding his iPad up to the screen to share. I mean, it was a train wreck. I mean, it was, oh my gosh. We had like 200 people online.
Boy.
I mean,
oh boy,
it was really bad. I mean, we haven't had anything, like that. We have had a few speakers that it's painful to watch because they're struggling. Like they're just struggling in the virtual space, right? I think one of the things that you've been able to capture is your personality on the screen, right? Doesn't matter we're on screen. I met you in person. You're the same. You meet me in person, I'm the same. Right. Some people have a very hard time with that.
Sure.
So those happen every once in a while. There's a couple of, when I inherited the no nonsense seminar back, well, I didn't inherit. They hired me back in where we were in our 6th year, 2021. I think we did our first event, and there were speakers that struggled. They had been lecturing in person for this conference for 25 years. Sure. And it was just the nature of the business. And we kept about half and half left. And it wasn't anything personal, but it was like that we needed to take the online learning experience in a different direction. You can't be the same guy that you were standing there on your, in person online. You have to bring a different, you have to bring yourself, but you have to bring energy. And so there are times, I would say in 80 events, there's probably been, I would say, a dozen or so in that amount of time, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
We're pretty blessed in that. I think our vetting process is really good. I think I have a great team of
Mhm.
clinicians around me that guide me correctly.
What were their
Um,
names? What were their names again? The bad ones?
we'll leave those unsaid for now. They may be speaking at other conferences, which, as a matter of fact, I do know that some of these speakers that we don't use anymore speak at other conferences. So
Yeah.
it's fine, and it works for the other conference. It just doesn't work for us,
Yeah.
right? And I think the the proof is in the pudding, right? The ratings and the numbers matter. When I send out 400 surveys and we get back 300 surveys and they've rated all the speakers and they're 4.7, 4.8 or higher, that's a good sign. And the comments are specific to individual speakers or the overall event. That's really good for us. And so we rely on that data. The other thing I want to say, one more thing, reflecting back on what makes our platform different also, is that our data. So when a sponsor sponsors an event, let me back up. When they go to an in-person conference, they'll get names and addresses. Many conferences in person do not even give email addresses, right? And when somebody sponsors an LER Expo event, they get the full journey of that clinician. So they clicked on this, they watched this, they saw this. So as a vendor who you want to target, what they're interested in.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody, if you're attending an event, Jeff, and you click on, something about a minimally invasive jig, let's say, you don't want somebody calling you about a hand product. You want them to call you about what it is and talk to you about what it is that you're interested in. So we really try to make those two connect. We connect the dots, I think, really well in that regard.
Which is how the internet works. If you're looking for a new umbrella, then you get on Facebook, all you see are ads for umbrella and why their umbrella is the best umbrella. And you're like, wow, they are watching. But it makes sense because I am looking for an umbrella. So I'd rather see ads about why your umbrella is the best and not tires for my car. I don't need tires. I need an umbrella.
Exactly.
It's kind of how the internet works. Targeted marketing, targeted ads.
Yep.
All right, we have time for two more things here. I want to ask you one final question. What is your goal with LER Expo and LER Magazine? What are your goals with those? How do you get to the point where you're like, yes, that I'm happy. That is a success.
My goal is to be the largest online provider for educational content in healthcare, period. I think we have the platform to do it. I think we have the technology. I think we have the community. And I think we're just continuing to grow. I'm seeing exponential growth at this point with the amount of events we're doing and the vendors we're working with and the ones we're in communication with for next year. So my goal is to be I don't think we'll ever be the only provider, but definitely the largest.
And we have time for what I call the Pod Patrol 8. 8 rapid fire questions for you. You don't have to think, just fire off an answer. You ready?
Go ahead.
Coffee or soda?
Coffee.
Well, this is mostly for clinicians. I should have vetted this. If you had to choose for your own feet, custom inserts or off the shelf?
For my own feet, custom.
You're given a TED Talk tomorrow. You're an expert in one topic. What is your topic? You don't have time to prepare. You're just going to give a lecture tomorrow to a huge audience. What's your topic?
Online education.
This one says bunion surgery. If you had to have your bunion fixed, would you want a head procedure or a Lapidus procedure?
I want MIS.
Well, they can both be MIS. Do you want
I want a head?
Do you want a Brad procedure or do you want a me procedure? You have to pick.
I don't want a Lapidikis.
What? I'm sorry, that is incorrect. Best shoe brand?
New Balance.
You love New Balance. What is it about them?
I think they fit, the comfort, the
Quality?
style. They're very, I love the way they're bringing colors and different styles. I love the 1906, the 9060, the what am I wearing today? The 990s and 991s. I just think they're not your grandpa's shoe that they used to be. And I love the way they're bringing colors together on them.
Every old dude has that white pair of New Balance that they mow the yard in.
Those are the ones I don't have. I mean, I have these today. This is what I'm wearing today.
Yeah, but how old are you? You just give it time. You'll get those white ones and mow the yard in them.
No, I'm going to be a 90 rocking in a rocking chair with a pair of Jordans, actually, probably.
Me too, probably. All right, this says favorite surgical instrument. We'll change it to favorite musical instrument.
Piano.
Do you play?
No.
Do you listen?
I never played a musical instrument. There's something about piano that I just like.
Yeah. What's the worst kind of music? Worst. Country, opera, or electronica?
Country.
That's the worst?
Electronica.
It's too much. I can't handle it. All right. This one says the one condition you never want to treat again, but we'll switch it to the one lower extremity condition that you would never want to have. There's some bad ones. Charcot, clubfoot, drop foot.
Clubfoot.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough for those guys. All right. That wraps up the Paw Patrol 8. Thank you so much for joining me.
Sweet, man. Thank you for having me. It was a privilege to have this conversation.
Absolutely. We'll circle back soon and cross paths again. But thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Paw Patrol.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us on this episode of Paw Patrol with your host, Dr. Jeff Dikis, joined by Rich Dubin. We'll see you guys next time.
Disclaimer. Opinions expressed are those of the content creators and do not represent any employer or entity. The information shared is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice or used in any legal capacity, including establishing standards of care. All efforts have been made to comply with HIPAA regulations. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy of statements or opinions provided. Interaction with the podcast does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. Please enjoy this podcast responsibly.